Hey guys, so it has been a really long time since I've uploaded a video. I think it's been like 4 months or something. But I'm back. Today I have the mysterious death of Dr. Don C. Wiley, and I'd never heard of this, but it actually happened here in Memphis, so I thought this would be a good one to start back up on. So let's go ahead and get started. So, Um, Dr. Wiley was 57 years old at the time of his death. He was a happily married father of four, and he was a world renowned doctor and researcher. He was a Harvard professor in biophysics and biochemistry. He was at the time researching Ebola and other lethal diseases, and at the time of his death, he was in Memphis for a conference with St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which many of you guys have heard of. It's here in Memphis, and they were holding a 2-day conference at the Peabody Hotel, which is a really nice hotel in downtown Memphis. So it was 2 days, so this was the second day, was November 15th, 2001, was the second day of the conference. And after the conference was over, they were having drinks and cocktails and dinner in the lobby of the Peabody, so all of the guests were invited to go and have dinner and drinks together and just kind of talk about the conference and what they'd been learning about and what they were researching. So Dr. Wiley went down to the lobby with all the other guests and was talking with many people, many colleagues, and everyone said he was very happy. He was excited about the conference and what they were researching. He wasn't like drinking very much or anything. He had about 2 drinks and then switched to Perrier. He was just talking, even mentioned that he was going for a morning jog the next day. So Dr. Wiley was currently living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where Harvard is, with his family, his kids. But his father actually lived in Germantown, which is a suburb of Memphis. It's about 20 to 30 minutes away from downtown Memphis, where the Peabody is. So he was talking about how he kind of had a longer drive to Germantown, so he kind of wanted to leave a little bit early so he could get home, so he wouldn't get lost late at night, So no one really confirmed what time he left the Peabody, but a bartender guessed that it was around 12:30. So after about 12:30, when the bartender guessed that he left the Peabody, Dr. Wiley completely went off the grid. He didn't use his credit cards. He wasn't seen on any surveillance cameras. His car wasn't spotted. No one knows where he was until about 3:37 a.m. So that's like 3 hours that no one knows where he went, what he was doing, where he was going. And again, the drive from downtown Memphis to Germantown is about 30 minutes. So definitely not 3 hours. At 3:47 a.m. on November 16th, so this is the next morning, a truck driver called 911 to report an abandoned car on the Memphis-Arkansas Bridge. And this is kind of what locals call the older bridge, because there's now a newer bridge. So this is the older bridge. I'm not really sure like when it was made, but this is the older bridge, not the newer one. So if you're from Memphis, you know what I'm talking about. So he called 911 to report an abandoned car. And it wasn't just like, on the shoulder of the road or anything. This bridge is like very narrow. Like there's no like space for like an emergency space like on the side of the highway. This is like a very narrow bridge. You don't stop on this bridge because this is where all the trucks come in, like the 18-wheelers, the semis, they come in on this bridge. So it's not like a safe place for you to pull over, like change your tire or something. You want to get off the bridge. You don't want to stay there. So he called this in because this car was on the wrong side of the road. So the truck driver was going from Tennessee to Arkansas, and wait, let's see. Like try and show this. So here's like the two lanes of the bridge. This is coming from Arkansas to Tennessee. This is going from Tennessee to Arkansas. The truck driver was on this side, but the car was facing this way, like on the wrong side of the road. I hope that made some kind of sense. But so this truck driver was the first one to call 911 about this car. And then within 15 minutes, 4 other people called in this same car. So the police used that information to say, like, this car hadn't been there for very long because 4 people, or I guess 5 people, called in this car in 15 minutes. So it hadn't been there very long before the truck driver called it in. So the police found the Mitsubishi Galant with the engine off, but the keys still in the ignition. It was impeccably clean. The tank of gas was completely full. And it was on the wrong side of the road, which I mentioned earlier. The only signs of like foul play or anything that had been wrong with the car was that on the right front side of the car, like the right front wheel, was missing its hubcap, and on the driver's side there was a yellow scrape along the driver's side. So anytime police find an abandoned car on a bridge, they usually are going to assume that it was suicide. So in this situation, they assumed that it was suicide. But his wife quickly said that there was no way he would commit suicide. Everyone at the party said he was in good spirits, he was excited, and his wife actually said that their family was planning to come to Memphis to visit not only their Dr. Wiley's dad, but also to see Graceland, to spend a few days on vacation in Memphis. So they were saying that why would he commit suicide when his family was coming in town, and he also had a trip to Iceland planned around Christmas. So with this information and a missing like 3 hours of the timeline, police went to the rental car place where Dr. Wiley got his rental car from and like checked the mileages to see if he had driven like an absurd amount that wouldn't be expected for about a 2-day trip and driving 30 minutes to and from his father's house in Germantown, which there weren't any strange mileages. It didn't show that he had driven a long distance in the car. And they took a photo of him downtown and asked people, like, have you seen this man? Did you see him walking around anywhere? And no one said that they had seen him. So for about a month, this kind of was just assumed to be a suicide, or there wasn't any foul play. No one had really seen him. Maybe he just went missing or something. But about a month later, on December 19th, Dr. Wiley's body was found about 320 miles south of Memphis in Vidalia, Louisiana, in the Mississippi River. And after a month of floating in the water, it was around 55 degrees at the time, Wiley's body began to decompose. He was missing his shoes and his suit jacket, but was still wearing his watch and his wedding ring. And the third button of his Armani shirt, his dress shirt, had been broken off. It hadn't been torn off, been broken off. His injuries were consistent with a fall, not a jump, like jumping feet first. It wasn't consistent with that. It was more consistent with the fall that he had hit the water on his right side. So we'll get into some theories now that you have all the information. These are like the theories that people have come up with. The medical examiner has ruled his death an accident. He thinks that probably what happened was Dr. Wiley got lost. I forgot to mention this earlier, but he was, the way his car was going, even to just be on the bridge, he was going the wrong direction to go back to Germantown. So, if you aren't familiar with Memphis, it's on the Mississippi River near Arkansas. And if you're crossing the river to go into Arkansas, you're going away from Memphis. If you want to go towards Germantown, if you're downtown, right near the river, you'd want to go east, like northeast, really, like about 30 minutes. So he was going the wrong direction. He wasn't leaving downtown. He was going towards Arkansas when he needed to be going away from downtown towards Tennessee, I guess. So the medical examiner thinks he got lost, somehow ended up on the bridge, was checking a map, was doing something, distracted, tired, and hit a curb or maybe a construction cone or barrier or something, hit something on the driver's side, and ended up kind of freaking out. He was driving a rental car and wanted to check and see what the damage was. So for some reason, he pulled over on the bridge, thinking no one was coming or whatever, and went to kind of lean out towards the railing, and a gust of wind or a gust from a semi going by pushed him off of the railing. So that's kind of the overarching theme, is like somehow pushed by wind or a semi to fall off of the railing. The railing wasn't super high, I guess. So maybe he stopped because he felt like he was going to throw up, went to go lean over the railing, and again, a gust of wind pushed him over. But even if this did happen, like he got lost, whatever, where was he for 3 hours? That's kind of what keeps getting me, is no one knows where he was for 3 hours. That's a really long amount of time, especially if he was trying to get home. Was tired, it's been a long day. I mean, he was at a conference for 2 days. So I don't know, that's just strange to me that 3 hours is a long amount of time to not be doing anything. So other people think maybe he was robbed and pushed over, but again, he was wearing an Armani shirt, had on a watch and a wedding ring, but none of that was missing. So that's strange to me. I feel like that's the first thing that you would take if you were robbers: jewelry or an expensive clothing. But okay, here's where we're going to get into some conspiracy theories. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. So Dr. Wiley was working on Ebola and other lethal diseases. So a lot of his research had to do with some lethal biomedical diseases. Now, Dr. Wiley wasn't specifically working on anthrax or anything kind of like that, but he was researching lethal diseases. So people think that maybe he was kidnapped or questioned about his involvement in what he knew in lethal diseases, maybe to work on biomedical terrorism or something along those lines. Now, if you are from the US, you've probably heard of the anthrax attacks that happened or that started on September 18th, 2001, just a week after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. An unknown person sent letters containing anthrax to different people, and lots of people died, and it caused a lot of frenzy, and so many people were afraid. It was terrible. It was very horrible. And this Dr. Wiley's death happened very soon after these attacks, just in November. So another thing that I find very interesting that kind of goes along with this is that 4 other biomedical researchers and microbiologists died within 33 days in 2001. And that's like crazy. Like, that doesn't happen. I mean, there aren't that many bio microbiologists, like in the world, and for 5 of them to die like suspiciously within 33 days, that's crazy. And if you guys want me to talk more about this, because I'm just going to briefly like touch on them, but I find this very interesting, and I think that this needs to be talked about more. I had never heard about this, but okay, so the first of the 5 microbiologists who died within these 33 days was Dr. Benito K., and he was found murdered outside of his lab at Miami Medical School on November 12th, 2001. So after him starts the 33 days, and Dr. Wiley died on November 16th, November 16th. So he's the next. And Dr. Benito K. Was a cell biologist working on infectious diseases like HIV. So he was also working on lethal diseases, infectious diseases, much like Dr. Wiley. And they were both very top in their field. So this is very strange. So then Dr. Wiley died on November 16th. So they both under mysterious circumstances. So then on November 23rd, Dr. Vladimir Pashik. Sorry, I'm not good at last names, but Pashik. He was a former microbiologist for Preparat, the Soviet biological weapons facility. So he actually was working in biological weapons. So, and this is crazy. During the last week of his life, he put his research of anthrax at the disposal of the government. So he was actually even working on anthrax, and these anthrax attacks happened just a month before this. So this is crazy. And if you guys want, there's a whole article written about these 5 microbiologists, and I'll link it in the description so you can read more about these. And let me know in the comments if you want me to like continue talking about these, research more into these, because I know I'm going over them very quickly. So, and then on December 10th, Dr. Robert M. Schwartz was found murdered. He founded the Virginia Biotechnology Association, where he worked on DNA sequencing. Then on December 14th, a man named Seth Van Nuyen, he was a microbiologist in Australia, and he was found dead in his lab. And according to authorities, he was unaware that this certain room had a high amount of nitrogen in it, and when he walked in, he just like collapsed and died. And it's very sad, but it's also very suspicious, and he had been working there for many years, and people aren't sure why he didn't know about this, or it's just very suspicious. So these 5 microbiologists all died within 33 days of each other, and they were all working on different biomedical research and biomedical weapons and lethal diseases and certain things like that. So just very suspicious that they all died within such a short amount of time from one another, and all under suspicious circumstances. So that's pretty much it for the theories about Dr. Wiley, but I just think it's such an interesting case, and we still don't know so many things about it. So please let me know your comments and your theories about Dr. Wiley and these other 4 microbiologists, and if you want me to do another video about them, or if you have any other requests, just let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys, and hope you had a happy holidays. Thanks.